Welcome to week 9. This week, we are going to be talking about subawards or subrecipient and consultant agreements under grant-funded projects. Readings this week are posted in Moodle, and assignments include a discussion forum, quiz, and assignment number 9, where you will draft a subaward monitoring plan. In many grant-funded projects, the grantee, or the organization who is responsible for the implementation and management of the grant project, will work with other collaborators to carry out the project activities. Collaborators could be another college or university, a community organization, an individual content expert, and others depending on the type of the project. Grant funds are often built into the initial grant proposal budget to pay for the work contributions of the subrecipient or consultant. As the grant-funded program begins, the grantee will be responsible for drafting agreements with the collaborators on the project. These agreements serve a similar purpose to the grant agreements between the grantor and the grantee. They will include the total dollar amount of the award, the project timeline, the work that is expected to be completed, often in a formal scope of work, and other requirements or expectations between the parties. It is important to understand the difference between subrecipients and consultants, as their responsibilities toward the project are different. Thus, the agreement that is drafted between the parties will also have differing sections as appropriate. In general, a consultant is a person with expertise relevant to the project. They may be a content expert within a specific field or a licensed professional. A consultant is hired to perform specific tasks relevant to the grant-funded project and offer the project professional expertise on a specific topic or field of research. Project consultants are brought into a project to contribute to specific tasks, but they are not usually responsible for meeting the general or overall deliverables of the grant project. They are less involved in the overall project. Consultants are hired to help the grantee reach the goals of the project, but usually just through a specific task or tasks. Subrecipients, on the other hand, are generally more invested in the overall scope of the project. Subrecipients are collaborators that work directly with the grantee to carry out a part of the overall project. They also receive grant funds to compensate their work, similar to consultants. However, it is more common for a subrecipient to be another entity, such as a university, laboratory, health department, etc. It is more common for a consultant to be an individual, but as with all things grants, this is certainly not always the case. The subrecipient will often receive more oversight from the grantee, as subrecipients are usually required to comply with the terms of the original grant agreement from the grantor, and the grantee is required to perform ongoing monitoring of all subrecipients to ensure that they are contributing how they should be. Consultants and subrecipients both contribute to the implementation of a grant-funded project. Their contributions are designed to help the project meet the goals and objectives of the project. Consultants will be contracted to provide a specialized service or provide specific advice. Subrecipients will collaborate with the grantee to carry out a portion of the project activities. For example, let's say that Bay Mills Community College recently received a new grant award from the National Science Foundation to research fish spawning patterns within Lake Superior. This funded project includes collaborators at another university and will incorporate the use of new drone technology in field research. Research faculty at the university will work with BMCC faculty to design this research, collect and analyze data, and help write summary reports and publications of their findings. In this case, the university would be a subrecipient of BMCC. BMCC will pay the university a determined amount of grant funds for their work. This could include faculty time, travel, research, supplies and materials, as well as university indirect costs. A technical expert will be brought into the project to train researchers on the use and capabilities of new drones purchased with grant funds. In this case, this expert would be a consultant under this project. They will have a specific focus to train researchers on the use of a piece of equipment, while the university has a broad research focus to contribute to the overall goals of the project, and will likely work with BMCC on multiple tasks throughout the project period. In both cases, grant dollars will be shared with collaborators. Funds start at the granting agency, are awarded to the grantee, and then the grantee pays consultants and subrecipients for their work. This is the process for both private and public funded grant projects. Federal agencies have clear definitions and guidelines when it comes to subrecipients. In the example I shared, the awarding agency would be the National Science Foundation. BMCC would be referred to as the prime awardee, or sometimes referred to as the pass-through entity. The university contributor would be the subrecipient, and the technical trainer would be a consultant. As just stated, the type of relationship between the grantee and consultants and the grantee and a subrecipient is slightly different, and thus the formal agreement between the two parties will also have differences. A consultant agreement would be drafted specific to the service that they are providing. Such an agreement can be developed in many different formats, but it should clearly state what the consultant will provide to the grantee, on what timeline, how much they will be paid to do so. The example here is a generic consulting contract. This contract will look different across all entities, and individuals managing grant-funded projects should consult with their organization's business office for the consulting agreement process and organization-specific templates. This is another area of the grant management process that will likely require collaboration with an organization's finance or business office or legal counsel to both execute a new consultant agreement and to make subsequent payments. The subrecipient agreement will include additional information from the consultant agreement, including how the subrecipient will contribute to the overall project. Subrecipient agreements outline the collaboration between a grantee and the subrecipient and how they will contribute to the project's implementation and project outcomes. Subrecipient agreement should outline the scope of work, project period, total budget, the awarding agency, award name, as well as applicable compliance requirements. In most cases, a subrecipient will be required to comply with the terms and conditions that are outlined in the grant award agreement between the grantor and the grantee, also referred to as the awarding agency and prime awardee. It is the responsibility of the grantee to ensure the proper information from the original grant agreement is included in the subrecipient agreement language. In some instances, grantees will include the grant agreement between the grantor and grantee as an attachment to the subrecipient agreement. This incorporates all of the language in the original agreement into the subrecipient agreement. The subrecipient agreement template here is a standard agreement for a federally funded project that was developed by the Federal Demonstration Partnership to help institutions ensure required guidelines are incorporated into subrecipient agreements. Organizations do not have to use this template, but it is an example to showcase some of the language differences between consultant and subrecipient agreements. If a grant-funded project or program includes subrecipients, as we have just discussed today, then the grantee organization is obligated to monitor the subrecipients to ensure the parties' participation in the project are following the terms and conditions of the subrecipient agreement. Subrecipient monitoring tasks will vary by project, but there are tasks that can be expected for most subrecipients. The grantee organization should try to identify risks that may be present in collaborating with potential subrecipients before the agreement is executed, and throughout the agreement to ensure that grant funds are used responsibly and work will be completed within the terms of the project. For federal awards, the OMB has clear requirements outlined in 2 CFR Part 200 Subpart D, subrecipient monitoring, that we talked about earlier this semester. Grantees should incorporate monitoring tasks as outlined in the uniform guidance into their monitoring process. This, of course, will vary depending on the project and subrecipient, but this guidance should be incorporated into subrecipient monitoring plans for federally funded projects and is good practice for all monitoring. Organizations receiving federal grant funds must be registered in the Government Database System for Award Management, or SAMS. This is a database that collects and manages information for entities doing any kind of business with the federal government. Part of the subrecipient monitoring process should be a check in the SAM database to ensure the subrecipient has an active registration and is not debarred from doing business with the government. If there is an instance where the subrecipient organization mismanaged funds or is not compliant with other guidelines or laws in some way, they may be disbarred from doing business with the government. If this happens, it would not be advised to enter into any type of agreement with that organization. This is why a review of SAM status should be part of the initial monitoring process. If other risks are identified, an organization may again not want to enter into a formal agreement with that entity. Or if they are manageable risks, the grantee should put in additional tasks to assess the risk that is identified and monitor along the way. Maintaining regular communication with subrecipients is a key form of ongoing monitoring. Communication can be set up informally through email and meeting correspondence, as well as through more formal report deliverable schedule that should be outlined in the subrecipient agreement. If a subrecipient is obligated to submit quarterly or semi-annual reports, both progress and financial, then this provides the grantee an opportunity to review the work that has been done and the status of tasks to assess the performance of the subrecipient. If a potential issue comes to light with review of the reports, then both parties can address the issue in a timely manner and respond to or adjust to correct the issue. The grantee may want to make a site visit to the subrecipient, similar to the site visit process between the grantor and the grantee. The site visit allows the grantee to monitor the progress of the project and the tasks in place to carry out the work outlined in the subrecipient scope of work. The grantee must monitor projects to ensure the subrecipient remains compliant with all regulations, policies, and grantor requirements. In addition, subrecipients are most likely required to complete an annual audit. If the subrecipient's audit results in a finding that requires action, this will need to be reported to the grantee, and additional monitoring tasks may be put into place.